Getting the smile and confidence you've been dreaming about, all from the comfort of your home, isn't a total mystery with Byte clear aligners. Just don't be surprised if all your friends start asking, "What's your secret?" Begin by ordering your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95. Byte clear aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces, plus they offer flexible financing, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room? It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together, we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th.
We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
Welcome back to Little Cuts, our weekly minisode where we dig into the things that we've been watching recently. I'm Terry.
That is, in fact, your name. My name is Mary Beth. Yeah, I think so. And this week we are talking TV catch-up. Not the condiment catch-up, but catching up. I know. I was like, I sort of like ketchup because I had hot dogs for dinner and I was thinking about ketchup.
I had McDonald's for dinner because my stomach is already fucked. So I'm like,
we're
why
already
not?
there. So let's just keep going. I appreciate that. We're talking TV catch up. A retro kung fu movie, a sumptuous story about stories, a fucked up experience, the most awkward home invasion film, and possibly the first meta horror movie of the 90s.
Hell yeah. But also, we are now 2 days into what, Mary Beth?
Patreon. It's here.
Arms up in the air.
Are you a patron yet? Because you should be.
You should be. Hopefully.
And we're going to tell you why.
Yeah, we are. God damn it. So I think
marketing.
Marketing 101. Insult and like
insult, demean your listeners.
Demean and antagonize your listeners. Hey, motherfuckers.
Yeah, that's how I've been told. That's how I've been told to do it. So
I mean, there's some PR companies that do that, but anyway. If you know, you know. Moving on, we have 3 levels of Patreon that we're launching with because, like we said last week, we're trying to start a little slow, so that we're not overwhelmed and give some options for people to help support us because podcasting is expensive. Podcasting is a time commitment. Yeah.
And now that we're adding more stuff, like we're spending time editing. I'm editing video and audio, and Terry's editing audio, and we love to do it, and we love to do it for you guys. So this is a new phase of supporting us, so we can keep giving you that good content.
And people have asked because we've been kind of hesitant about it, but then people asked and they kept asking, and so here we are. Pay up.
Here we are.
No, I'm kidding, but please.
On that note, let's walk. Pay up, motherfucker. That's what you're paying for. Let's talk through the tiers, man, of our Patreon. So we have 3 tiers of Patreon. Our first tier is for $1 a month. A mere $1. A third to a quarter to a fifth of a cup of coffee, depending on where and what coffee you're getting, my favorite comparison of all time, and it's like, it's less than a cup of coffee. So for the $1 tier, you're going to get our Seltzer for Life video, which we're going to do once a month, where we talk about sparkling water for a few minutes via video, because that's who we are. You're going to get some early updates on upcoming interviews and episodes, and we'll also, source some questions from y'all and have you kind of participate maybe a little bit more in our interviews and get some stuff from y'all to ask our filmmakers and things like that. So it'll be a nice little community for you guys to know ahead of time and send us some questions before we interview our guests.
Yeah. And then our second tier is going to be $5. So in some places, the price of your Starbucks coffee, right?
Yeah, it's definitely still less than that's less than my coffee.
Is it?
My giant pumpkin cream cold brew the size of my head.
You know what I really like? I really like the cold brew nitro.
It's so good.
That's my favorite.
But pumpkin's back. Anyway. So at the $5 tier, we give you the video little cuts that we've been putting up on YouTube. So the video little cuts that we have been doing are now going to be Patreon exclusive. So you got a little taste of what those are. And so now those are going to be moving exclusively to Patreon. And also patrons will get access to live little cuts recordings as well.
Yep. We'll let you know when we're going to record, and we'll put out the link on Patreon, and you can pop in, watch us live. Yeah, and maybe be part of it, ask questions potentially. And, and if you've noticed on the YouTube, our videos are a little bit longer than what you get in the audio, because it's sort of a little bit more unfiltered.
Yeah, I do way less editing for the videos than I do the podcast, because it's fun. Because then when there's like a cat fucking around, it's like, oh, people love that shit. But in that podcast, like the audio, it doesn't make any goddamn sense. So, you can get more of the shenanigans that go on behind the scenes with the videos.
Exactly.
And then we have our $10 tier. With the $5 tier, you'll get everything else above that and the added benefit to the $5. $10, same thing. You get the $5 and $1, $5 and $1 incentives, but then you also get our new series, Fresh Wounds. Thank you, EL, at Purpurina Stitch for this name for our Scarred for Adult Life series. Fresh Wounds, once a month, on the first Wednesday of the month, we're going to be talking about a movie that terrified us as adults. So we're starting with Terrified, and that episode will come out Wednesday of next week. So that's kind of the lowdown. We have a link to the Patreon in the description of this podcast. If you're watching this won't be on YouTube. Is this going to be on YouTube? Are we putting this last? Okay.
Yeah. You'll
have all that info. Please become a patron and consider it. And if you have suggestions for things you'd like to see from us in the future, let us know. And also share it with everybody, with everyone you know.
Yeah, please.
Help us get the word out so we can get as many patrons as possible.
Appreciate it. Okay, so before we get into like the movies that we're going to talk about, I know you and I both have watched a little bit of TV.
Yes.
So I really wanted to kind of mention just in passing that I'm watching The Boys season 3 finally. I'm not going to give any spoilers except to say that Homelander is even more terrifying than ever, and it's painful watching him, because like he seems to this season in particular seems to encompass the way things are in the world right now and have been for the last forever. So and it's terrifying to think that there is someone with all this power and there's no one that is able to stand up to him. And things are getting a lot more gray. It's hard to watch. It is kind of hard to watch. But the one thing I will spoil is that I knew that there is a character called the Termite that goes inside a man's penis and explodes him from inside on accident by sneezing. But I was not prepared for the giant screen-filling penis head and piss slit that this man crawls into that starts off the season. That was a joy. I was not ready for it.
I'm glad you didn't know about that one, because it's like, yeah, the whole thing is gross, but like when you hear about it, but like when you experience it, it's like, oh no, this is a whole other, like this is even weirder. I love it.
This is a lot more than I was expecting to see on screen. I was like, oh, we have a lot of dicks in this opening moment, and then I was like, oh, and we have a screen-filling penis head.
Well, and that's why I love this show, too. I haven't finished the season. I think it was just one of those things where it's like, it's all got so goddamn depressing. Mm-hmm. But this show does not pull any punches. Like, I think I talked about this when I was starting to watch it. But, this is the superhero show I've always wanted. That is like, no, it's not like, oh, they're the heroes. It's like, no, it's all corrupt and fucked, and they all just, like, have created basically a dictatorship where, like, you can destroy all of humanity and no one can control them. Like, I love that. And it's so fucked up and gross. And, like, they really just continue to outdo themselves every season, every episode. I feel like it's just disgusting.
The other show I briefly wanted to talk about, because I thought I had talked about it on this show, honestly, and I guess I didn't because of like festivals and whatnot.
Probably.
The Bear. Have you watched The Bear?
No, and I need to because my fucking parents are chefs. Like it's something I would like love to watch, but my brain has just like I haven't had the capacity, like just mentally.
Yeah,
to watch
I get it. It is absolutely fantastic. It's about a chef from New York whose brother kills himself and leaves his Chicago beef sandwich shop to him.
Italian beef.
Yeah, and so he ends up coming back to Chicago and trying to run this sort of failing beef shop, and dealing with the personalities in the kitchen, dealing with the personalities of his cousin. And also with the new chef that is trying to prove herself. It's intense. It's like, it is probably the most intense 30-minute episode I've seen. Like, just in general, the first episode just throws you into it with the kitchen going, and there's like people shouting back and forth, and it's like social anxiety. Terry, that doesn't like personal conflict, is like wanting to pull his face off as they are chopping with very sharp knives and just going really fast as they are yelling at each other. And I'm just like, someone is going to lose a finger. Someone's going to lose a finger.
Did you ever work in a restaurant?
No.
Okay.
But I've heard people that have and said that it gives them, this show gives them PTSD.
Yeah, I think that's also one of the reasons why I haven't watched it, because I worked in a kitchen for a long time. Like, my parents are chefs, but like I worked in restaurants for a long time too. In both like smaller restaurants and like restaurants that are more like the Bear, where it's like screaming, like bigger, like a big line of like a big, more of like line staff and stuff like that. But
and it all builds to episode 7, which is a single take episode.
Whoa, shit! I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a single shot episode that everything that could go wrong is going wrong, and it's just like it's a culmination of all the anxieties and all the conflicts and all the stuff that's been building the entire season explodes in this 22-minute long take episode that is just fantastic. It's fantastic.
Shit. Okay.
I honestly, I think people should watch the show just to get to that episode, because it is anxiety inducing, but also like just a masterful shot in a kitchen as things are going to fucking hell.
Sick.
And it's been renewed for a second season.
I'm stressed out just thinking about it.
But you've also been watching TV, though.
I have. So I've switched over from Real Housewives to re-watching RuPaul's Drag Race and then catching up on the seasons I haven't watched. It's all on Paramount Plus and All Stars, and I think all the Untucked are also on Paramount Plus, so I'm excited. So I'm going back. I was really into RuPaul's Drag Race for a while. I stopped. I think I got like kind of annoyed with the fandom a little bit.
Makes sense.
I mean, it doesn't help that like I dove into like the Reddit and like I like went full like not crazy fan who like goes to DragCon and stuff, but like I was in the subreddits. I was like curious about all the tea. I didn't engage with any of it, but I lurked. But I think I was just like, this is kind of toxic. Like I can't engage. If I engage with this like with a little bit more separation, it's much more fun than like all of the drama, because there's so much drama with these queens.
There's so much drama.
I just forgot how much I love the show. Like I love drag, and I'm on this. I'm watching season 9 right now. I just started it with Shea Coulee and Peppermint. I started rewatching with season 5 a couple weeks ago. I didn't watch the first 4 seasons. The first 4 seasons. Just the 5th season is one of my favorites, and then I just went from there. Basically, I've been playing Stardew Valley at night and watching RuPaul's Drag Race as my way to like decompress, and it's incredible. 10 out of 10. I forgot how much I loved Aja the Queen from season 9, and Pheromone just. It's incredible, and obviously like Sasha Velour, Shea Coulee. It's an amazing season. Like Shea Coulee is ridiculous, in a good way. I mean that.
I love Shea.
And so is Sasha. But yeah, that has been like my chicken soup for the sad girl's soul for the past couple of weeks, which has been nice. And it's like a nice change of pace from the Real Housewives. It's like everyone's bitchy, but like they know they're bitchy. Like they're all shady, but they're not trying to lie about it.
Right,
It's
right.
like, and like they're turning looks, and it's just like, it's just cool. It's like, it's watching people make art. It's cool.
I'll say that one of the things that kind of started to get on my nerves a little bit in like the season 7 to 9-ish area is or people started to try, and a little bit beyond that, try to like come up with catchphrases, and that became like a big meme thing. And also people started to not be as like conniving with each other, I guess, because of social media presence. And so you didn't get such great moments as like Relaska talks earlier in the series. So like that was one thing that
Let me show you my
is,
cuckoo. So like Theo Lee Fontaine's "Let me show you my cuckoo." It's just like I needed to like. It's like so annoying. And you can tell who's trying to get the shady edit sometimes too. I know that sometimes they like do people dirty with the edits. I don't know a lot about that drama. Like if I don't know, but like it's also sometimes seems like queens are trying to be the mean girls.
Yeah.
Especially with like in season 8 with like, or season 7. Which one was Violet Chachki on?
Oh, I don't even
Season
remember.
7.
I think that was
season 7, because Bob the Drag Queen just won season 8. But like the Violet Chachki season with like her and Pearl and Miss Fame, like all like the very pretty bitchy girls. I was like, they're all just like really annoying, and like it's been fun to get back into that. And then once I hit season 10, I'll be in uncharted territory, and I will be trying not to Google spoilers. I probably will. That is like a lot of what I have been watching. I think especially after festivals, I'm like, I just want to turn off my brain. No
I get
movies. Just trash.
I get it.
I want to hear more about this sumptuous story about stories.
Okay, so I saw 3,000 Years of Longing.
I thought that was what this was about. Okay.
And I've seen some interesting takes about this film, about how it wasn't as like, I guess, maybe swoon-worthy or emotionally romantic as people were expecting.
I've seen a couple takes like that.
But I also don't think that's what the movie's trying to do.
Okay.
So this is George Miller's latest film, starring Tilda Swinton's Alethea and Idris Elba as the Jinn. She is like a very intelligent professor that is very well read. She speed reads, like her finger just goes down the pages. She's very smart, loves stories, loves collecting stories, kind of feels a little adrift in this world where like science is explaining everything. She loves the idea of myth and the power that stories can give, and give ideas of creation, give ideas of what's happening in the world that has been increasingly more science demystified. And so she finds this bottle, she's cleaning it with her electric toothbrush, and the top pops off and the Jinn comes out, and he kind of tells her stories throughout his 3,000 years of capture in this bottle. They sort of start to fall in love with each other, but it's a cerebral love.
Oh, okay.
And I think that cerebral love, and like this isn't like he's going to swoop her off her feet and it's going to be, passionate sex and that kind of stuff. She finds someone that loves stories. He loves stories. She loves stories. And they connect on a much more intimate, intelligent, cerebral level. And I think that's hard to show in a movie that is about romance. And so I think that might be kind of why some people might find the actual romance between the two of them a little cold. But I honestly think that this is not the story that he's telling. It's about two people that are adrift and stuck in their worlds and find each other and fall in love with each other's intelligence and their ability to tell stories and their love of stories. And so it's more, I think, an internal romance than an external one.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen a couple of takes talking about how it's like not as sexy as people would have wanted. There's like no passion in it. So it's interesting to hear your thoughts about it, where you're like, it's a different kind of intimacy than we're used to seeing.
And it's gorgeously shot. It's a beautiful film. I get that some people might have been left cold a little bit because it's not a traditional romance between the two, but I found it so, I don't know. There's like a earnestness and like a, not to quote the movie, a longing in this film that I think really did it for me. And I think Time's going to be very kind to this film. I know it kind of flopped in the theaters, but I do think Time will see this for the treasure that I think it honestly is. Fucked up experience.
So I watched Todd Solondz's movie Happiness for another podcast I host, Watch Once Never Again. And the episode where we talk about this movie is out next week. So you can hear more like 2 hours of thoughts on this movie if you would like to hear that. But I wanted to talk about it again because this is a movie I haven't been able to stop thinking about since I watched it. Like, because it is so good and so fucked. So Happiness was released in 1998 by the director Todd Solondz, who did Welcome to the Dollhouse. He's known for being a rather transgressive filmmaker, doing a lot of work within like taboos and things like that, which he definitely does in Happiness. And Happiness is basically like, it's basically like, think about like American Beauty type stuff and like little children type movie where it's like not necessarily an anthology, but it feels almost like an anthology because all of these like Magnolia too. Okay. Like characters exist kind of, you see their stories and they're all kind of loosely linked together, but each person kind of has their own like arc, and sometimes the other characters will intersect briefly.
Okay.
Type thing. And this is specifically about like suburban life / like growing up and the dark, fucked up ways that people find or try to find happiness. Have you seen this movie? Mm-mm. Okay. I loved it, and I will never watch it again, I don't think. And, like, that's not typically, like, y'all at this point know, like, the kind of shit I like. Like, it's hard to shock me, like, totally. Mm-hmm. This one fucked me up. There's a lot of sexual assault and pedophilia in this movie.
Oof, yeah.
Dylan Baker is an incredible actor playing the most disgusting character in this movie. And, like, I was so enthralled with his performance, with the way he creates this character. It's just so fucking awful and terrible in terms of like what goes on behind closed doors, but it's also like the characters are so beautifully realized. It's 2.5 hours long, but doesn't feel like 2.5 hours because like everything that happens like feels very purposeful and comes together at the end. It's just like, what? Like I started watching it at 11:30 p.m. and it ended for me at 2 a.m. and I was like, I couldn't fall asleep then because I was like wired thinking about this movie because there's so much happening in it. So if you like things that kind of challenge you, I would recommend it. Please look up trigger warnings for it though, because like every bad thing that could happen in this movie, it's not violent, but like it's a lot of implied violence, a lot of like very specifically fucked up discussions about very bad things happening to people without their consent.
When I saw you watched it, I went out because I had heard the name, but I had never seen it. So I went out to IMDb and I was looking at like the plot keywords and the tag words and the parental area that I always go into to see what, and I was like, oh yeah, this has a lot of those. Any kind of trigger warning it seems like it's kind of checking them off.
It's an amazing movie. It's just really challenging to watch. It's not for everybody, but I really am glad I watched it. And I'm like, we're doing a Todd Solondz series because Dax really likes him, and I had never watched any of his stuff. And I'm glad I am, but that man is not okay. Like, good Lord.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen any of his movies either.
They're incredible. They're just, like, deeply uncomfortable to watch. Like, this guy knows how to take awkward situations and make them even more awkward. Like, it's like Secondhand Embarrassment, the movie. And all of them. But also people being terrible human beings. Like, monsters. So, it's a lot. It's not, like, a fun little walk in the park movies. It's just like, Jesus, you need a recovery period after watching them. But yeah, so that's what I have been doing with my time. I want to hear about this super incredibly awkward home invasion movie.
Well, I know you've seen this one, and it's out as of yesterday when this recording drops. It's on Shudder, called Who Invited Them by Duncan Birmingham. I'm just going to briefly talk about it because you talked about it before, and so, but I finally saw it. I finally had the opportunity to see it because it's coming to Shudder, and it is a lot of fun. It is about a couple that are moving up in their kind of career, and so they buy this house in the hillside area, and it's next to really wealthy neighbors, and they throw a party so that the man played by Ryan Hansen from Veronica Mars, I believe, is where I've seen him before.
Oh, I wondered why he looked familiar.
Yeah, he was
Okay.
Dick Casablancas.
What an incredible name.
I know, in Veronica Mars. And he wants to peacock to his friends and show off his new digs. And so they throw a party. His wife, played by Melissa Tang, is a little
she's
less
so
into
good.
it. She's so good in this.
She's so fucking good in this movie.
She really is. And she's not as interested in this behavior, but it's happening while he is toasting. He sees two people that he's doesn't know, and he assumes they're her friends. After the party's over, she assumes that they were his friends, and then they discover that they are still in the house, and what started is like a fun party kind of turns into this awkward situation where they don't seem to want to leave, and they seem to be escalating situations between the two of them by insinuating things or revealing things, and it kind of escalates from there in a very kind of darkly comedic fashion, I would say.
Yes. It's weird. The twist is wild.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. I was really surprised by it. Everything that you said before, I completely agree with. It's a great time. It's an interesting inversion of like the home invasion film.
Yeah. I was really into like how it was like they invaded the home in such a polite way. And it's so sinister, and it's really interesting to see this like dynamic between couples and how they're all played off of each other. I think it's very fascinating to watch and deeply uncomfortable. Deeply uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, I guess you might be able to compare it tangentially to like Funny Games, but I don't think there is like
Yeah.
insidious in the beginning as like there's not as much like implied threats of violence in the very beginning of the film.
It's
just
much more purposeful violence than random violence. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
which is not a bad thing.
No.
I think so many people. I've been thinking about this a lot about like home invasion movies and how people are so like Funny Games is like the
It's
home invasion
finicky.
movie. Well, it's like the home invasion movie is like I feel like it's one of the first like really popular like fucked up home invasion movies. Maybe I could talk about my asshole on that one. Like,
I mean, I think it popularized it in the modern audience because I do think there was
Yeah.
some because like Straw Dogs from the 70s.
yeah,
Like there's
Yeah.
some. It's just it
I
like.
think-
No, I think it kind of brought it back into the masses in terms of
Yeah.
popularity.
I think it also introduced the concept of random violence too, like random
Yeah, that's
fucked up
true.
violence. Because like you have Funny Games, the original one came out in like '97. Then you have The Strangers, and then the remake, Haneke's remake of Funny Games, I think, coming out pretty
Both
close
of which
together.
we've covered
So
on the podcast.
it made me choke on my own spit. Wah. I think a lot of home invasion movies are like unfortunately constantly compared to those movies. Well, and it's like it's hard. You're not gonna beat Haneke. Like but because like he did it in such an original way, it's hard to like divorce yourself from that comparison. But I think this movie takes those expectations of a Haneke movie of Funny Games and puts its own spin on it in a more in an interesting way that makes it stick out and more than just like, oh, this is like two weirdos like being creeps and stuff like that. So
Also, a retro kung fu movie.
really quick, I saw Miami Connection at Popcorn Frights, and I wanted to bring it up because Miami Connection is the most ridiculous movie I've ever seen. It involves ninjas and kung fu and a band that sings about the powers of friendship and taekwondo, and they
What?
fight drug lord ninjas. And it is not a good movie whatsoever, but it is such a good experience to watch with the crowd. It's so funny, like how bad it is. Vinegar Syndrome put it out relatively recently on Blu-ray. And it's,
I was going to say this
it-
cover looks like this belongs to Vinegar Syndrome.
Yeah, so it's Vinegar Syndrome, and like I watched it. It was a 9 p.m. screening, and it was like I saw it in a theater with a bunch of people, and there were comedians doing like riff track kind of commentary over it, and like this is the kind of movie where you want to watch it with your friends and just make fun of it the whole time.
Hell yeah.
But it's like so weird and like wildly entertaining. Like, it's not a good movie, but it's really fun to watch. Like, it's a fun experience because it goes so balls to the wall in some of the shit it's doing, and it makes zero sense, and it's incredible. Like, it's it's just like so many choices are made. The band loves taekwondo, and they sing about taekwondo and friendship, and like there's a Korean guy who's a college student, but he looks like he's 45, and it doesn't really make much sense. All of the guys who live together in the band are constantly shirtless, so there's like these weird homoerotic undertones about these dudes constantly like being shirtless together and like hugging and stuff. It's very, I think, unintentionally gay in that regard. Like, there's just so much gay hugging. There's a guy who constantly gets his there's 2 instances where he gets his nose grabbed by someone's foot, like someone grabs his nose in between their toes, and like it's all so surreal and bizarre, but it's so fun.
It sounds like a fever dream.
Yeah, it is. Oh, it is. Like, when I saw it with a couple people, and we were like, did that just happen for real? And like, in a good way, but it was just like, what in the hell? So that, I just wanted to shout that out, because if you've heard of it, like, for Vinegar Syndrome, and haven't checked it out, I'd highly recommend. And like, watch it with friends. Don't, like, you can watch it alone, but like, it's not, you're gonna be like, this is so dumb. Like, it's not that kind of movie. Like, you want to be like a little bit tipsy, maybe stoned. Like, you don't want to be sober watching this movie. So that is my recommendation. Like, doing that this weekend, guys. It's a good time.
Looks like it's on Freevee, which used to be IMDb TV, I guess.
Oh, yeah, because, it's like now, it's like Amazon. It's an Amazon service now. So, Terry, what did we talk about? What did we watch for our horror comedy of the week?
Oh my goodness. We brought it into the 90s with this delicious mix of some meta horror, I would say, in a theater called Popcorn, in which a master disguised deranged killer begins killing off the college students who are organizing a horror movie marathon in an abandoned theater. I saw this movie for the first time, gosh, I don't remember when it was, 2018, 2017, because Synapse Films put out a restoration of it, and I was like,
I was trying to remember who put out the Synapse, who put out the restoration.
Yeah, and I was gung-ho about collecting. It was like one of the first things that like caught my eye, and I bought it because I remember the poster when I was a kid and remembering being kind of creeped out by the poster, and so I bought it, watched it, absolutely fell in love with it. I'm really excited to hear what you think about it, since this was your first watch.
Yeah, so I had like seen it on Shudder. So I knew about it vaguely from Shudder. I saw the poster. People have posted about it on Twitter, and I was like, this poster fucking rules. Like, what is this movie? At first, I was like, this is cheese. Like, it's not, the acting ain't great. And I was like, so it's like, I went through an evolution. I was like, okay, so like, I see what we're doing here. And then when when the kills start, it takes a little bit to get there. I think it's a little bit slow in the beginning. But once it gets there, it's like goes on like full Phantom of the Opera with shock seats.
Yes!
And it's fucking incredible. Like, when this movie hits its stride, it's just like 10 out of 10, absolutely bonkers. Like, the kills are wild. The killer reveal is wild. Like, I thought they set up this whole thing of what you think is a supernatural slasher. That's what I got. Like, you open with this trippy dream sequence of the guy's like head on a platter. And this incredible girl with bangs and like a blunt haircut. I was like, bitch, you are my dream. She's a filmmaker.
And her mom gives Butch Queen realness.
Oh, Dee Wallace, my man.
Oh, is that Dee Wallace?
That's Dee Wallace.
Holy fuck, I didn't even know
Dee Wallace.
Oh my God.
I looked it up to triple check. Like, I think that's Dee Wallace. It sure is.
That's
Love
embarrassing.
her.
How did I not realize that? Love her haircut in this.
Incredible. Like, it's incredible. It is Butch realness. It's amazing. My biggest thing that makes me laugh about this movie is, like, she's in college, she's a film student, and the film department has no money. They're like, they've cut our funding. I'm like, relatable because my college's film department just got fucked. So, like, relatable. But then they have this idea for a fundraiser with this like all-night movie marathon, which is great. But when they start like the gimmicks, because there's 3 movies in this, which we'll get to, and there's gimmicks for each one, and there's a giant mechanical mosquito, and they're shocking people in their seats, and there's smell-o-vision. I'm like, wait, I thought you were poor. Like, what you guys have pulled off is incredibly impressive, but also incredibly intricate. Like,
they probably lost money on this, let's be honest.
Well, and like, granted, the whole thing is packed, but you're raising money for the film department, but how much did you lose, like, making this all up? These are the logistics I think of with the beginning of this movie. I'm like, this is not... Once again, with the fucking unrealistic budgetary issues of a broke theater department. I'm like, broke theater department means you don't even have a place to perform. Like, what? But that bullshit aside, I know there's so many things to say about this movie, Terry. It's so good.
I know. So the movies within the movie, I think, are absolutely fantastic because it's like they're knockoffs of William Castle films. Like this idea of like, because like the mosquito, they're in House on Haunted Hill. He had like a skeleton flying out across the audience. There was a movie where they installed little zappers and you'd get zapped. I believe he actually did a movie that had smell as well. I can't remember, but like he was the master of gimmicks. These movies all have gimmicks. I think the mosquito movie is actually a lot of fun. I would have liked to have seen that whole movie.
Please. And they have this giant mosquito come out that they're flying around the audience. And this is our first kill, too. It's like, we've been building up. And I'm like, when's the first kill happening? Like, we don't have like a kill. Because we don't have it. Like, most slashers, you have a cold open kill. We have just a cold open dream, which is cool. Like, I respect that in terms of like inverting the expectations, but like you don't get a kill for quite a bit. But the kill is the mosquito malfunctioning and stabbing a man through the chest. And I'm like, oh, okay, perfect. This is where we're at. Love it. And like, but back to those movies, like they're all, I wanted to look this up to make sure they're all made for this movie. Like they're not existing movies. These are all 3, 4, if you count Possessor, which is like the creepy cult movie. They find a creepy cult movie.
A Kenneth Anger type movie. Yeah,
of like someone with like talking and like blood coming out of their mouth. It's like very conceptual. So there's 4 movies within a movie in this movie. And Scream 2 definitely got inspiration from this, right? Like there's no way Scream 2 did not pull direct inspiration from Popcorn.
And so did Porno, I would say.
I was thinking, I thought about Porno too, because they both have like the finding of this weird fucked up movie, and they're like, But I like, this is like the proto Scream 2, the proto meta horror movie where you have film students setting up a horror movie marathon. They're showing these made for the movies, and people don't understand what's real and what's not as these kills start happening. And I fucking love that. Like, it's just, I love that this and it plays with it so much more than Scream 2, because the whole almost the entire movie, like the back 45 minutes, are all in a single location in that movie theater. So, and they really use that movie theater to like its full potential in terms of space and like how they utilize space in that what single location.
I think the killer reveal is also fantastic. Because he's a master of disguise, and there's this sequence where he has like his face covering his face, and it's just like his ears are there, and they're just like flopping back and forth as he's talking, and it's such a fantastic little like practical effect gag that it works so much for me, and I think it has aged actually really well for that particular thing.
I think so too. Like, I was really, really impressed with how well all of the practical, because it's all practical with with his makeup and what his face looks like, because it's revealed that this killer suffered massive burns in this fire that happened at the theater that we discover our female protagonist survived because it was a movie cult and her actual mom was feeding her acid while they were watching. Literally, it's brought up one time. Dee Wallace says, Maggie, her sister, was feeding you acid. And I was like, I'm sorry, can we rewind to that? Like, this child was taking acid as a child and watching movies? Like, it was a weird cult situation. And I was obsessed with it. I was like, I want more of that information. But, like, this guy is trying to recreate, like, the cult ritual. And
because he had all of his skin burned off. He was a kid as well at that time. And he was all burned up. And he's like, lost most of the flesh in my body. And he just becomes deliciously unhinged by the reveal of his criminality, I would say. He
is one of my favorite new slasher, like my new favorite slasher villain. He's like walking around, like, he looks like a Cenobite with his flesh, like, pulled back with all of these weird staples. He steals people's faces, and that makes no sense how it works. But, like, again, who cares? Like, I don't give a shit. Like, it doesn't matter how he does it. It's
really
just,
doesn't.
like, I thought about it for 2 seconds, and I was like, nah, I don't care. I don't care. He's, like, flopping his head around with his ears, like... Because, again, it feels supernatural. It's like, oh, there is a fucking ghost. Like, there is something weird going on. It's like, no, motherfucker, I'm a master of disguise, and I'm in a cult. And then it goes full Phantom of the Opera when he puts the girl in an Iron Maiden in a dress. And I'm like...
Which, by the way, Scream 2 connection, like, the crowd cheering on her death, thinking it's, like, fake.
I was like... Note.
Yeah, we're getting that Scream 2, like, connection right there as well. That finale, though. Her mom's stuck in
the cast?
mache, I guess. Like
Piper,
like a cast
weird,
holding her
like,
gun.
full body cast the gun. Her shitty, like, fuckboy. I was mad at that. This is the one thing I did not like about this movie. The shitty fuckboy saves the day.
Becomes the hero,
and, like,
yeah. But
and
on the
like,
other side, he gets the shit kicked out of him this entire movie, which I did love.
He does. But I still was annoyed that he saved her. Because, like, she's set up as the final girl. And, like, I appreciate that not everyone dies in this movie. Like, it's got, like, a relatively low body count for what it is, it feels like. But it's still... But, like, I don't know. He saves her. And it's annoying. He's like, oh, I'm a pretty pathetic hero. I'm like, shut up. It's like, you fucked around and you found out, my man. Like... She didn't want to fuck you, and you got all shitty. Like, maybe don't be an asshole. But I do appreciate that they did punish him for that. Like, they did.
Oh, he got his ass bit,
nice.
his face. He's not falling downstairs. My roommate brought up a good thing. Is like, he cannot walk upstairs, but he's able to scale this theater. And I'm like, you're bringing too much logic to this.
Yeah, again, like, no logic. It's just like...
You know what's funny, though? Do you know who was originally offered to helm this film?
Who?
Bob Clark. Black Christmas, Bob Clark, yeah. And he passed on it.
This would have been a much darker movie.
He passed on the offer and instead suggested Alan Ormsby, who he collaborated on Death Dream with, and I think he was an uncredited producer on the film instead. But yeah, he was offered it, and he was adamant about not directing another horror film after Black Christmas.
Wow. Well, I mean, I like the way it turned out.
Oh, I do too.
It would have been cool to be darker.
Can you imagine, though?
That weird phone call at the beginning is reminiscent of Black Christmas.
Yeah.
The weird prank call. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this is a movie where it leans into... because, like, there's also, like, all of these original songs about scary movies and a reggae band that I'm like... This movie knows so much what it is, and I love that. So, like, it's a self-aware horror comedy that I think does lean really well into the horror, especially at the end. Like, it's obviously ridiculous and campy, but, like, it understands that, and it gives us a flamboyant villain who's, like, walking around in a suit and is like, I am the movie director! And I'm like, honey, yes, you are. Like, slay. Slay.
Literally.
He's giving. But I just... Incredible. I want that poster on my wall immediately. I want a tattoo of that poster on my arm. Maybe... that would be so cool. My horror arm.
That would be cool. I'm so glad you liked it, though, because I think this movie is a trip. I'm hopefully more people will discover it from Shudder, because, like, this is a movie that I would have loved as a kid if I had seen it back when it first came out. It's a lot of fun. It's goofy. It's meta. It's a little smart, I think, in, like, the way it subverts expectations. And
it's a good Halloween movie. Mm-hmm. Like, if you have Shudder and you're starting to watch your movies for the spooky season, put this on your list. Mm-hmm. And even if you've already seen it, watch it again. Like, it's a good meta slasher horror comedy for the season. And I think I watched it by myself and it was great, but I think watching it with people would also be fun. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those experiences where you'll enjoy it either way, especially if you're like... I'd love to
see this in a theater.
Oh, that'd be so cool. And even more meta if you're watching it in a theater. But yeah, I had so much fun with this one.
Good.
Yeah. But then, what is next for us for horror comedies?
Okay, so next week we are going to watch a movie recommended by Rory Davis from Instagram called Nothing But Trouble. Directed and co-written by Dan Aykroyd from 1991. I've never seen this one, but he asked us to talk about it, and so we are, and I'm really excited to watch it. It sounds a little wild, so I'm looking forward to that. But who are we talking to on Monday, Mary Beth?
So on Monday, we are chatting with animator Cressa Maeve Beer. She is the creator of the Godzilla short Coming Out, as well as ones like Clever Girl, How to Train Your Dinosaur, and Me in the Matrix, incredible stop motion animation, and she brought with her the underrated Day of the Dead, which fucks.
Yes, it does. Absolutely.
And she's incredible. Check her out, her animation stuff out. You've probably seen it before. A lot of like the, again, stop motion, cute Godzilla stuff.
And if you've gone to see some big movies like The Matrix or Jurassic World, the new one at Alamo, you'll have seen her stuff playing before it. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's so cool. So that's our Monday episode.
Hell yeah.
So listeners, you've heard from us. We want to hear from you. Do you have thoughts on what we watched this week? Do you have suggestions for movies to cover or Patreon stuff? Send us an email at scarredforlifepodcast@gmail.com or reach out to us directly on Twitter. I am at MB McAndrews.
And I'm McGailey Dreadful.
And of course, don't forget to follow the podcast on Twitter at Scarred Podcast.
Please don't forget to review, rate, subscribe, and to become a member of our Patreon. Da-da-da-da.
So thank you, Eric Power, for our artwork. Thank you to Sean Keller for our music. Thank you to everyone for listening. Please stay safe out there. Most importantly, stay creepy and
I got nothing.
Won't somebody please think of the children? Won't somebody please think of the children? Somebody please think of the children!
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What is The Briefing Room?
It's a behind-the-scenes look at how the criminal justice system works and the lives of the people within that system.
If you love true crime, well, these are the real people who do the job every day of making sure justice is served.
Hi, I'm Detective Dave.
I'm Detective Dan. Together, we have decades of experience in local law enforcement, a profession that we think is often misunderstood.
So we're going to explore how to do it right, and we won't shy away from when it's done wrong. These are stories you'll hear nowhere else. Unique, frank, and unvarnished.
From the team that brought you Small Town Dicks, this is The Briefing Room. Episode 1 drops on August 30th. We'll meet you in the briefing room.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.